some reason or another, we have stopped taking in information and we have stopped giving out information. So there's no fresh flow. And then pretty soon we become stagnant. I'm talking about this morning, and I was asking her along these lines, and you might not get the connection right now, but I'm sure you will as I talk. You have two churches, and both of them are the same denomination, so you have no doctrinal difference. But the preachers are very, very different. The preacher at Church One, let's say, is very charismatic. He's very progressive, into the contemporary worship, contemporary way of doing things, and into the prosperity, faith prosperity movement. And then you have a preacher down the street who his eyes tear up. And he starts talking about his burden for the lost. He starts talking about the toll that he's seen wickedness and sin take in this present day world. And he always ends up on his knees. He's always praying for the salvation of certain people or a group or just mankind in general. Now what, and the answer is pretty much cut and dried. I've seen the winds of change in the church. Until I really opened my eyes, I didn't know how much we had changed. But think about not a preacher that you would like to just go to once a month or something like that, but one that you would like to be of the same spirit and the same mind and the same makeup. Which preacher would you be comfortable with imitating? And I don't want you to answer this out loud. I know this is a video, but we have email. But I just want you to think about your answer and be perfectly truthful with yourself. And then ask yourself why that answer. I talked about the change of the church. And change in the church is like the flowing of water into the pond. But the church that I have in mind, and in no particular church really, but the church that I'm seeing in my mind's eye is very sensitive to the attitudes of society around them. In other words, the preacher would be more likely to take up the cause of racial discrimination, of freedom of choice as far as abortion goes. He's a modern day crusader on the rights of man and the love of God as it pertains to the rights of man. And this preacher has not checked to see if there's any outlet to this flowing in the church. There is no constructive channel for the ministry, and I'm talking about the ministry between individual people, not just the ministry of the minister. And it should be that we have the mind of God. What mind is that? The harvest fields are already ripe unto harvest. The angels rejoice for one sheep that is found and brought home. God hath no pleasure in the death of the wicked. This mindset is who God is. He is not interested in contemporary matters because he knows that the contemporary things of today will not be the contemporary things of next month. Man is changing that fast. Man is becoming more and more a self creature that quickly. But if that preacher does not make a channel for the flowing of the church, and I'm talking about people going out and sharing, not the program of the church, not go out there and say, well, we're going to have a teen slumber party, or a watermelon splash, or we're going to have a concert with Christian rap or something like that. I'm not talking about this kind of thing. I'm talking about the excitement that people feel when God moves within His purpose. Souls are saved, lives are changed, and people experience victory. But in order for people to experience victory, someone has to have the burden. Somebody has to carry that burden, that weight upon their shoulders. And this is the little pastor down the street that I was talking about, who is weeping readily, who talks about the souls of men, who talks about his burden for the lost. He doesn't mention maybe his desire, whether it's there or not, to build on to the church. We're growing people. Our congregation is growing. And we need the money to build this wonderful edifice for God. No. Preacher, whether you are preaching from a cathedral or you are preaching from a storefront mission. Your goal is to see lives transformed. Not by you, not by your political thoughts and your political acumen, but by the power of the living God. When Jesus left, he said, "Go and make disciples. Preach the good word to every creature." He gave us a charge. And a charge is a trust. And that trust is very sacred to a lot of people. I call myself the weeping prophet because most of the time, outwardly, you see the pain that I observe in the world, that I observe in those souls that pass me on the street. Inside, there's victory, there's peace, there's a river flowing that I cannot contain, and it has no end. And the water is 100% pure. The waters are violent, yet they are peaceful. This water rages where it will. But when it touches the heart of a man, the heart of a woman, the heart of a child, that soul becomes still. That soul becomes peaceful and everlastingly committed to stay within the bounds of that river. What church, what pond do you go to? Is it the one who brings disciples in and sends them out? Or is it the one someplace along the line has lost its direction, has lost its outlet, and even worse, has lost its feeding branch, the one that brings more fresh water in? Which one? And are you happy there? Do you really feel God moving? Have you ever felt God move? And I'm not talking about the people that get up and praise God and jump up and down, because they were talking before the service started about their new car. They were talking before the service started about Aunt Jane's rheumatism or arthritis. They were talking before service started about their new job. And then all of a sudden, within the 2-hour span, they turn into worship machines. And when the closing prayer comes, they're back to worrying about something else. Next week, an appointment with the doctor, lunch, where are we going to eat dinner? This pond that I just mentioned is stagnant. It does God no good. It does nature no good. It sits there and it putrefies. And everything around it gathers the stench of that stagnant pond. Think about it. God bless you. God keep you. Strengthen your testimony in the Scriptures. Know God, and He will know you. God bless you. Maranatha.